Welcome to Scary Story Podcast. I have a couple of stories for you. The first is about a gift that makes a very unusual connection to a young shopper. The second one explains how a healthy morning routine can go wrong. I'm Edwin, and here is a scary story. Go to sleep, Natalie. I try not to think of this. Genuinely, I try not to. But it bothers me to think that even my closest friends feel sorry for me after all these years. Though maybe I've given them a reason to. Part of me still believes it. It started off as a game. My sister and I lived in a house up in a hill away from the main stores, and I don't remember many things being around us. If we wanted to go to the store, it would be a 10-minute drive into the shopping centers, and we needed to make lists in order to remember everything, because there was no way we could just walk into a 7-Eleven or a grocery store like I do now whenever I want something. We listed easy things first. Colors we spotted around the room and the types of animals we'd see on the way back home, and then started making lists of random things around the house. So I grew up making lists for everything. When the sound of one of my sister's dolls started growing deeper as she giggled and said goodnight when you squeezed its hand, I knew it was time to write down AA batteries on the list. I used to catch things that Mom forgot about too, and whenever I reminded her of them at the store, she would get so happy, and if she was in a good enough mood, I would get to choose an additional thing at the store. But I made lists for other things too, and come to think of it, I still make lists for almost everything. Post-its stuck to the steering wheel of my car remind me of my lunch, my wallet, and cell phone. And down to more specific reminders, more random, like taking cutlery and napkins and reminders to call Mom. I can't forget to call Mom. It was about to rain that day, and Mom was loading up the little cart we drag around the grocery store since this one didn't have the push carts that we have now. She reminded me to get my jacket, and I reminded Happy, my sister, to get hers too. That wasn't her name, but she used to call me by a nickname too, so we just stuck with it. Mom used to roll her eyes whenever she heard it, though. I don't think she liked it very much, but it was a game, like I said. Or at least I remember it being that way. And come to think of it, even my therapist now says that I'm still blending games with my everyday life. It's funny how it works. So we got in the car, and I helped buckle Happy into the back seat. It was all over the television commercials to use seatbelts, but I don't remember Mom and Dad ever using it or asking me to. But Happy and I were close, and I even used to play that I was her mom. There I go with the games, see? I loved going to the stores. I still remember Mark, the man who worked by the meat and dairy section. He would always call me by my name and offer 2 lollipops. I'd drag my sister by the hand to go look at the toys since it also had a school and toy section. I knew Mom would never buy us toys from there, so we normally walked around pressing the buttons of the packages, especially the ones that said, "Try me," right on the front. Though some didn't work, we usually went for the same one. I remember my sister's face when she saw the doll for the first time. It was a baby with yellow baby clothes and a blue hat. It didn't have a "Try Me" button, but the label said it had 3 sound effects, just like a real baby. It had an accompanying baby bottle and a rattle. In big yellow letters, "Go to sleep, Natalie." That's what I was saving my money for, $6.95, and it would be my gift for her, so I didn't want to ask my mom for it. But I only had a few dollars in the piggy bank that wasn't a pig, but rather a plastic barrel type thing that we found in the storage shed when we cleaned it out last time. My dad drilled a hole on it. Not even a slot for coins, but a full-on hole made with a noisy drill that same day. I wanted one for my sister too, but my dad insisted that we just share it. Cecilia was a woman that worked by the front of the store, who never really spoke to us, but loved to chat with Mom. But when she wasn't moving her mouth to speak, she was using it to chew the 2 or 3 pieces of gum she would stick in there at the same time. Dad and I used to joke about it and pretend to be her. But this time she seemed extra friendly with us and asked us what toys we were looking at and that we better hurry, because some holiday was coming up and they'd be gone. I caught up to Mom with my list of things that I thought she had missed, and she shot me that wide smile and pinched my cheek, and we walked over to get flour and other things for my dad's birthday cake. "Pick something that you want," she said to me. But I looked down to Happy, who was always staying quiet during these times, unable to choose something. "Can we get a doll?" I asked, looking down at my untied shoes. Mom sighed, but instead of saying no in the way that she always did, she asked which one I wanted. So I grabbed Happy's hand and ran to the toys section as two other girls with their parents were walking out of that aisle and toward the cash register. I couldn't tell for sure, but my heart dropped when I saw one of them hugging the box with those yellow letters. I could feel my eyes swell up with tears. All hopes of seeing Happy smile like that went away. Still, we walked over to the toy section and down to the bottom. We saw another one. "Go to sleep, Natalie." I grabbed it and ran to Mom, a huge smile on my face as I wiped away the tears that somehow managed to slide down my face into my chin. Without looking at it, she sighed again. "All right," she said. Then she let me set it right on the cart. When we got home, I set the doll, the box and everything, right on my dresser by the bed that my sister and I used to share. I told Happy that we'd wait until her birthday to open it. Mom walked in one morning before I went to school to place some folded laundry into my drawers of my dresser, when she asked me why I hadn't used a doll. "Mom, it's for Happy," I said. "We're waiting for her birthday." Mom rolled her eyes. She grabbed the box and asked me to open it, that I could play with it. I said no, but she placed the box in front of me and told me to open it or we would take it back. I couldn't understand, but Mom's stern voice made my eyes swell up again. "It's for Happy," I yelled. She turned the box around. Her face went cold when I saw her mouth silently move as if to read the label of the box. "Go to sleep, Natalie?" She looked at me and grabbed the box and threw it against the wall. She yelled at me as the cries of the doll seeped out of the box. Mom had never acted this way. She told me to stop talking about Happy, that she wasn't there. The doll stopped crying. Then it said, "I'm asleep, Mommy. I'm asleep, Mommy." Mom's mouth dropped as she wrinkled her nose and started crying. She covered her face with one hand, telling me to fix up the box because we would be returning it. I cried, too afraid to say anything. I walked over to the doll, the box now open from the top. I grabbed it with both hands and sat on the edge of my bed. Mom was staring at me in silence. I looked over to Happy, who was hiding in the corner. I grabbed the doll's exposed hand and squeezed it. We heard breathing. Then I squeezed it again and heard laughter. And finally cries. Mom snatched the doll from my hand and squeezed its hand too. We heard the same 3 sets of noises, despite us both expecting to hear, "I'm asleep, Mommy," one more time. Mom cried, squeezing the doll over and over for a while. I remember that I didn't go to school that day. I stayed in my room, across from Happy. Her real name, Natalie. Natalie who wasn't there. When I was old enough, Mom explained to me about what happened to my sister, how she died. how they told me when I was young that Natalie was now happy and not in pain. But they never told me that Natalie was gone. I still saw her for a while after that. She used to come in and sit in the corner of the room, as if playing with some imaginary toys and not making any noise. I see her sometimes, even now. Mom never returned the doll. It still sits at her house. And every once in a while, she gives the doll a squeeze to hear what it says. Maybe hoping to hear that Natalie is just asleep. Always a runner. I don't know why I thought it would be a good idea to wake up at 5 in the morning to go out for a run. Obviously, those Instagram and Twitter motivational messages got me in some way. But now my alarm clock was punishing me for following along with the trends. But it was my 4th morning like this. One more and I'd break into my week straight habit. If I kept it going, this might turn into a real habit, supposedly, and I'd feel so much better. Though I guess I'd feel better sleeping more, also. But my shoes were on, and my trail was set on an app that I got, so I figured I might as well go with it. I did my warm-ups, and off I went into the darkness of the morning. It wasn't that cold, with winter being behind us now, but still, once sweat started hitting my forehead, I knew that the wind would bring along that icy feeling to it as well. I had gotten used to seeing some of the same runners out on the trail that I used to do. The simple one. When the sun was completely out and I thought about going back to that one. But it was simply my mind trying to take the path of least resistance, like those posts said. The trailhead was about 5 minutes a walk away from my house, and just by the looks of it, I knew it would be 2 or 3 times as tough. No matter how motivated and pumped up I showed up to the start of the trail, I always seemed to get that moment of doubt. I knew that if I just got started, I'd start feeling a little better. So I looked up at the trail with an incline toward the top of a small hill. An older couple was walking down the hill up ahead. No offense to them, but if they could do it, well, yeah. So I started running up, and they waved at me as I passed by them, going the other way. It's a normal thing that I didn't know that we were supposed to do as runners. But it's nice, to get a good morning from strangers who are all out doing the same thing in the mornings. As I reached the top of the first hill, I felt relief at seeing the mostly flat rest of the trail around a small valley with trees and a view of the rest of the city into the distance. The sun was rising too, just to add to the surprise. But soon, surprises became the last thing I wished for. Up ahead in the trail, I spotted a person coming my way. For a moment, I thought that maybe I started on the wrong spot, since he would be another person going in the opposite direction as me. He was a young guy with dark pants and a white shirt, and sunglasses. I used to wear mine when I'd leave a little later, but not at 5 or 6 in the morning. The sun wasn't even completely out yet, and if anything, those things were a hazard to use in the dark while running. He ran in silence, looking down at his shoes and then straight ahead. I looked at him as he was 10 yards in front of me, getting ready to raise my hand to wave at him. But his expression didn't change. And he didn't even look my way. I slowed down and moved to the left as he passed by. Some people just get really into it like that and ignore the rest of the world. And it was completely normal. But then something else happened. I still can't shake it off. Up by the next curve, another trail split off into the right. And I wasn't sure if that was the one I was supposed to take. If you've ever hiked or walked around a canyon, you know that a lot of the scenery looks the same, and that some of the trails can easily be much longer than others, even if you're within the same area. due to the winding nature of it as you climb or descend into the canyon. The zigzagging through those places are what take up most of my time out there. So as I was approaching the fork, I stopped to take a look at my phone's map just to double check. That's when I heard footsteps again. Very quiet ones coming from the top of one of the trails. I couldn't tell which one, but I looked up to the one on the right and then to the left. The footsteps were getting closer. I looked through my map app and saw that the path on the right was the one I was supposed to take, so I put the phone back on my arm holder and took 2 steps forward. When I saw him. The same young man. He was running down the trail with his sunglasses laser focused on his path. I came to a near full stop when I saw him. I instinctively raised my arm to wave hello, but he passed next to me without acknowledging I was there. Now, that's what happened to me, and even though it doesn't seem like a lot, that maybe the person was just a quick runner and somehow managed to make the entire loop or pass me twice in less than 10 minutes seems like a possible idea. I promise that even I want to believe that. See, I told one of my friends about the trail running I was doing, and one of them, Haley, met me at the trailhead one morning. She was a full-on runner, so I was a bit intimidated, but when I walked up to her car that morning, she was sitting on the driver's side, staring out into the semi-dark trail, looking like she had just seen a ghost. And from what she told me, I think she might have. I think I might have too. I got into the passenger side seat, debating whether or not I should ask her what happened, when suddenly she started speaking on her own. She said that a man, a tall thin man with a white t-shirt, had come down the path, holding onto the side of his torso as he fell to the ground in pain. Haley quickly grabbed onto the side handle of a door to open it. She looked for her cell phone to get help, but when she opened the door and stepped out, she looked up toward the trail and the man was gone. She looked all around the area, but the man had completely vanished. We sat there for a while as the sun was rising. Haley had been Googling for some type of explanation of what she had seen at Jameson Park, and managed to find something. Reports of a man named Christoph who died tragically from an injury while out on the trails. But along with those came reports of ghost sightings. Despite all this, we had calmed down by this time, joking around in disbelief when I told her that I had seen him too. That's when we both froze, as we saw the dark silhouette coming down from the top of the hill. His shadow coming toward us. My friend started the car and put it on reverse, pulling it out toward the road. I turned my head toward the driver's side window, raising my shoulders, expecting him to rush toward us, my heartbeat growing louder. Haley screamed as she put the car on drive. I could hear the footsteps right outside my window, but refused to look. We got back on the road, leaving whatever we saw behind us. This was Scary Story, written and produced by me, Edwin Covarrubias. You can stay updated with this and other shows that I make by going to scarystorypodcast.com. You can also be notified by email whenever a new episode gets released, for free. Thank you very much for listening.